Hey guys, welcome to the JcrOffroad Garage. I'm Brian, and today I'm going to show you how to install a bed rack on your new Jeep Gladiator. So the first thing you're going to want to do is unpackage everything and lay it out. And from here I'm going to tell you what we have going on and what kind of goes where. So first you're going to have your uprights. As you can see here I have the tall rack or full rack. So I have 4 uprights and they're lefts and rights. Then I have these accessory panels that go down the side of the rack. I have crossbars. The crossbars, they don't have anything on the ends, so they're just kind of channels all the way through. Those are what go across the truck. And then we have what we call lateral bars. And the lateral bars, they run front to back, and you can see they are capped on the end and have bolt hole. From there, you're going to have mounting options. We have our clamps, just in case you don't have the trail rail system. And then we also have these brackets if you do have the trail rail system. So anyways, let me show you guys a couple different mounting options and then we'll put it together. So my Gladiator isn't equipped with the trail rail system. I'm actually borrowing this from a local customer. This is actually a front rail that I've just kind of put in here to kind of simulate what's going on. These things are super tough to get right now. They're on like infinite back order from Mopar. So unless your vehicle came equipped with it, you're not going to be able to get your hands on them right now. We do have a solution that actually clamps on. I'm going to do the whole install video clamping it on, but I want to first walk you through what you would do if you have the trail rail system like this. So you're going to take your upright and you're going to notice the upright's going to sit right over the trail rail system just like that. And it's going to line up with the slots, and then we're actually going to bolt it down to that trail rail system. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these little rectangular blocks, and then now we're going to go through these carriage bolts. There's 2 different lengths. There's a 1 1/4 and a 1 1/2. We're going to want the shorter ones. So we're going to take those, we're going to stick them through the block like so. And then from here in the trail rail system, there's a notched out area that allows you to slide this in. Depending on how your rails are installed, this may be in the front, it may be front and back, wherever. But anyways, you're going to take it, you're going to slide it into the channel like that and leave it in. Then from there, you're going to take your upright, stick your upright through here. We're going to take a washer and a 5/16 flange nut and go ahead and get this started. Now what you're going to want to do, if you're installing this with the trail rail system, the easiest way to do this is to actually loosely install all 4 of your uprights and then kind of build from there. So as you can see here, we're on there, and then from there we can slide it for when we want to adjust the rack. But for now, that's how you would do this if you had the trail rail system. From there you're just going to assemble the rack, put the crossbars in and your lateral bars and such from there. Now, if you don't have a trail rail system, I'm going to show you guys how to do that now. Okay, so now we're working on the Gladiator. We don't have the trail rail system. Crap, that really sucks, but that's okay. We got a solution for you. The upright's still going to come on here like this, but the difference is we're going to use this little clamp. This clamp's going to come up behind the bed rail like that, and it's actually just going to pinch the side of the bed rail holding this down. So now the easiest way to do this is to assemble the whole rack, set the whole rack up. If you're doing it by yourself, you're going to want to do it similar to the way we do it with the trail rail system, and you're going to want to build your uprights one at a time. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get started by taking this bracket. Now we're going to be using the longer, the 1 1/2 inch long carriage bolts. They're going to go through the bracket like this, and then through the bracket like this, and then we're going to go ahead and loosely install a washer and a flange nut. And you're going to want to do this before you put it up on the side of the truck. It just makes life a heck of a lot easier. Okay, so as you can see, we have this on here, and you can kind of see the side profile, what's going on. When you tighten this down, it's going to clamp and pinch the bed rail, holding the rack in place. So now when we stick it up here into place, we can take our hands and push this up into place like that. And then we can go ahead and tighten it down like so. Now if you're building this thing by yourself, the easiest way to do this, like I said, is to put each upright in, then put your crossbars in, and then start to work through the middle to attach the front and the back standoffs. Now what I'm going to do is a little differently. I'm actually going to flip it upside down, build it on the ground, then have somebody help me set it up here onto the truck and bolt it down. So I'm going to go ahead and take this back off and let's get going. So before I show you how to bolt this thing together, I want to go over and talk about the 2 different heights that we have and the 2 solutions that we're offering so that you kind of have an idea of what you're after. So right here what I'm holding, this is actually a 21 inch tall upright. Now you're going to see this sucker is pretty tall. It's going to come up like this. The advantages to a tall rack is you still have the usability of the bed every day, day to day. Makes it a lot easier. When you go to the short rack and the bar comes across here, the usability of the bed becomes less. So you're going to see this is a back upright, but I'll just show you for representation. What we have is we have the crossbar, and the crossbar is going to come right above the window. It's not above the roof line, it's actually below. And the reason we do that is that we don't want to create turbulence. This isn't a ladder rack. We're not trying to build a ladder rack. We're not trying to build a rack that's going to haul lumber. This is an off-road rack. This is something that you can use for mounting bikes, mounting rooftop tents, kayaks, things like that. We're not trying to build a ladder rack, so therefore it's not over the top of the cab. So the next option is going to be our half rack, and this comes in at 12.5 inches tall. You see it's substantially shorter, but it actually is going to give you the ability to put a folding tent on here without getting too far up over the roof of the truck. As you come up here, you're going to notice the rack's going to come right down the middle of the window, and that's the best way to do this in order to keep the tent below the roof as much as we can. So whether or not you're going to choose the 21-inch rack or the 12.5-inch rack, full rack or half rack, is really going to come down to your application and your use. If you want to be able to use the bed every single day, in and out, whether you're hauling stuff for work or whether or not you just like having a pickup truck, the tall rack is always going to be the most versatile. And what I always tell people is try to plan for the 90%. What are you going to be using the truck for 90% of the time, and set the truck up for that. Now I know it stinks to have a folding tent on top of a full rack that sticks over the cab. You know, it's extra drag, it's going to kill your miles per gallon. I get it. But if you're only running that tent 10% of the time, why inconvenience yourself with a half rack? The half racks, in my opinion, look the best. The thing is that you're not going to be able to put as much gear on them, so you're going to be limited on what you can put down the sides and a tent. You're also going to have to make adapter brackets if you wanted to put kayaks on it, so you would actually have to have brackets that lift the kayaks up to clear the roof, where if you had a taller one, you could bolt on kayak racks and they'll clear the roof line. So it's really going to come down to what's more usable for your truck, or whether you're willing to give up, make some concessions to have that half rack look. Personally, I like the half rack. That's what I'm going to run on this. Daryl, he loves the full rack. He runs that on his Tacoma, and his day-to-day is bikes and kayaks and camping, and that rack works way better for him. His tent sits up over his cab, but it's only on there when he's on trips, so it's not a big deal. So anyways, that's the differences between the full and the half rack. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and lay out this rack, and I'm going to do this assembly upside down and then have a friend, a neighbor, somebody help you get it on. That's one way to do it. Like I said, you can also build it piece by piece on the truck. So these are the rear, and the reason you can tell that they're the rear is they have this triangle shape on them where the fronts are just straight up and down. So I'm going to lay these out. We have a left and a right, and then from there I'm going to find the crossbars. Now the crossbars are the ones that are not capped here, as you can see. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this down like so. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put this right over this like so. And then I dump my hardware out. I got these little stainless buttons here, and then flange nuts there. We're going to need 4 of them to secure this side. So I'll pull those out. Okay, so now when you look on the side here, you're going to want to adjust it so that it's in as far as you can go. Right here is going to be your stop. So the crossbar is actually going to hit the upright if you go any further, so that we know we're in the right slot. And we'll go ahead and stick these through here. And these are slotted, so we're going to be able to move the crossbars in and out so that we can get it on the right width of the truck. But for now, we're going to go ahead and set it up. So I'm just going to go ahead and get these started. I don't want to tighten them down. I just want to get them on there so that the rack sort of holds together when I go to assemble it. So this is the front upright, which I haven't shown you yet, and you're going to notice that it has kind of an offset to it. This offset actually needs to come back away from the truck cab. So this one is actually going to be a passenger side. So right now I have the rear uprights kind of together back there, so I can see what's going on. This is the passenger side. The offset's going to go towards the back of the rack. So I'm just going to go ahead and bolt this guy in. All right, so when you're putting this rack together, you're going to notice that these uprights, sometimes they may be a little wide or sometimes they may be a little narrow. They may be a little overbent like this. So what you're going to do is you're going to notice this one is a little underbent, but that's okay because it's just going to clamp in. So all we're going to do is just pull it in, line it up with my slot, and bolt it in. Now if it's a little too narrow, you can just take your hands and bend it out a little bit. It's no big deal. So now we're going to go ahead and install these side accessory panels. Now these are what you're going to bolt your rotopacks down to, your tread board mounts, your bike mounts, whatever else you're putting on here. And what you're going to do is you're going to notice that they're adjustable up and down. Since I'm not really sure what I'm going to be loading on this thing yet, I'm going to set them up right in the middle. So what I'm going to do is just take a bolt right through here, so you can see we have all these different bolt patterns on here. So I'm going to go ahead and set it up right here in the middle. We can always adjust these when they're on the truck, so it's not a big deal if you decide to move them into a different location. So go ahead and get one started. Make sure that you're putting them in the same holes on both sides so that they're actually level. So quickly, I want to talk to you guys about this offset foot and why it's on here. What you're going to notice when we put this on this truck is the bed rack is actually going to be wider because of this offset. Now we offset this so that two things: we can get to the trail rail system, but we can also get to where we want to clamp. We could also do that here, but the problem is this thing is now going to become 6 inches shorter. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but when you don't have a lot of bed space to start with, that extra 6 inches of bed space and storage space on your rack is very important. So that's a key feature that we do that other companies don't necessarily do. All right, so now we just have these lateral bars. Now you're going to notice that we actually have a place to bolt them in here, 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 here. And in each spot, you can see on this side, we actually have 3 slots. So we're making sure that you have an adjustability to go either way here, all the way across. Before you set this, if you're putting a rooftop tent on, this is a good time to figure out what's the width need to be for you to get your rooftop tent on it. I've already done the measuring on mine, so I'm going to go ahead and mount them out here, like so. If you wanted to put a spare tire on it, we make some accessory mounts. You would have to put them in the middle like this, and then our accessory panel would bolt on top, and the tire mount would go on top, and the whole tire would be able to sit on there, like so. I like to have them out here. They're a lot more versatile. You can run this rack without these lateral bars, so if you don't feel that you need them for your current application or you want to pull them out, you can go ahead and pull them out. But otherwise, put them in. They're very useful. You'll be able to mount your kayaks to them, your rooftop tent to them, any other things you're going to load across the top, whether you want to put some Rotopax cans, whatever it may be. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and put these in. I want to make sure I'm going to use these 2 inside holes, so I want to make sure I use that on the same side so that the bar isn't crooked. All right, so one thing, we're using flange nuts. So we have these serrated edge on here. What that's going to allow us to do is actually just tighten up the Allen, and this will actually just pinch down, and you don't necessarily need to use a wrench every single time. So what I'm going to do on these lateral bars, I'm going to put the bolts in from the inside of the rack, so they're inside this channel. That way, I can use an Allen key on this side and not have to deal with this flange. So one thing I haven't talked about is all these little holes you have on the bottom here. And you're only going to see those just because I have the rack upside down. But what those are actually for zip ties. So when you're running electrical through here, you have the ability to zip tie your wires. Out here on the back here, we have a spot where you can actually add a third brake light and bolt that in right there. So if you're using the full rack and you want to get your third brake light up top, you can do that. Fortunately on the Gladiator, it's right in the tailgate, so you don't have to worry about it. All right, so the rack is together. Now I need to go knock on my neighbor's door, see if he'll give me a hand. Let me get it up on the truck and we'll get going. Fortunately, my neighbor was home. He was able to help me put the rack on the truck. From there, I went ahead and bolted the clamps on, like I showed you guys earlier in the video. Only gonna need a couple tools. You're gonna need a 1/2 inch wrench, 1/2 inch socket, and a 3/16 Allen. The Allen's gonna be for all the buttons, and if you need to hold any of the flange nuts, you can use the 1/2 inch, and then you can use a 1/2 inch to bolt down the bed rack. So one of the questions that everyone's gonna ask, and I get it, and I understand, and you all wanna know, will this work with the bed cover? It's not going to work with the factory bed cover. We're trying to be in the same space as that cover. The cover fully overlaps the outside of here. There's just no way to do it while having strength enough to hold rooftop tents, kayaks, that kind of stuff. So in the future, we're hoping that somebody like Access will make their Vanish, which actually goes on the inside of this rail. Then at that point, now we have something that will actually work with our bed rack. For now, there's not really an option, so this is kind of it. Anyways, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. You can go on our website at JcrOffroad.com. You can email us at info@JcrOffroad.com, or you can call us at 269-386-5555. 353-1184. Hope to put a bed rack on your truck soon.